AITA for not dropping everything when my mother was dying and waiting until the funeral home has death certificates before planning anything? Hey everyone. Sorry for any spelling or grammar mistakes. I'm on mobile and it's been a long few weeks. First time here and throwaway account. I, 20s NB, am getting some comments and aggressiveness from friends and family of my late mother. She died a few weeks ago from complications due to cancer and I live halfway across the country, US, and could not afford to drop everything and be there with her. She went from in the ICU as a precaution to end of life in about 4 days. I am also neurodivergent and the nurses were ensuring me that she wasn't that bad up until we were in the last few hours. I had a very, very complicated relationship with my mother. She was my mother and on some level I loved her, but she was narcissistic and abusive. My father died when I was in high school and he was abusive as well, mostly physically. My mother was emotionally, mentally, and financially abusive. Among some of the things she did, she would let the electricity, power, or phone turn off to force me to pay the full bill plus late fees when she could have afforded it. She hoarded and made a mess of the house, then yelled at me for making the messes and insisted I clean it, would even deny guests by telling them that I made the house a mess. Would insult and embarrass me publicly, then make fun of me for being upset. Constant gaslighting, you get the point. It all got worse when I came out as transgender. I was able, with the help of my wonderful partner, to get out of that situation and move away. My relationship with my mother was very low contact for years until she was diagnosed with cancer last spring. It was still low contact, but I spoke with her more frequently and had a much better relationship with her at a distance. Still not a great relationship, but something that, after learning who and what she is and how to cope with everything, was a much better relationship than before. Anyway, after she had passed and talking with the funeral home, I decided to have her cremated and hold off on making further arrangements until after the funeral home has copies of the death certificates. I had made a post on social medias, letting people know that when I had the arrangements made, I would make a post about it. Here we are almost 2 weeks later and I'm getting a lot of "when are the arrangements? Why haven't you come home? Why didn't you go see your mom in the hospital? You know you'll regret that, right? Why haven't you made arrangements yet? Why did you cremate her? She should have been buried." I even had someone call me selfish for making others wait to mourn. A lot of these are people who haven't talked to my mother in years and my mother had made no plans for arrangements. She also hadn't gotten any sort of life insurance despite me asking her to. Not gonna lie, I still can't afford to fly halfway across the country for this funeral, but I also have a bunch of stuff that I will need to do in person there. I am going to have to crowdfund to be able to afford to go to my own mother's funeral. Someone told me to sell my mother's house to afford to go to the funeral. That I should be ashamed for even considering crowdfunding. Not sure they understand how long it takes to go through probate even though I'm the sole inheritor. AITA/WIBTA for any of this? For all of it? Edit? Okay, so I'm getting a lot more comments than I thought, a lot quicker than I thought I would. I'm gonna clarify a few things that I've seen pop up in the comments. My mom did have a will. I actually have the copy of it. I have already contacted the attorney who my mom worked with on it. They want some information that I don't currently have access to and won't be able to get access to until I have death certificates or until I can go there and check her house. I am the only child and the only living immediate relative. My mom had people she referred to as cousins, but as far as I'm aware, they are not actually related. My mom was also older, mid-60s. My mom was older when she had me. I'm 26, she was 65. During her treatment I did take a short trip, paid by others, to see her during a point of not knowing if she would recover. She was bedridden and, for lack of better words, not really there. She did recover and then recently went back downhill. Seeing all of the people saying that I'm not obligated to have a funeral legitimately makes me feel better. Like 90% of the people my mom knew are her age or older. Edit 2. I very much sugar-coated the type of person my mom was, and I feel like I need to specify that most people don't know what my relationship with my mother was actually like. Everyone thinks she was a wonderful person. She painted me as a bad child even before I moved out and away. I've not used my dead name in nearly 7 years and she would still call me my birth name and stuff to people behind my back. She only tried when it was convenient for her. She was still blaming the state of her house on me despite the fact I haven't lived there in years. They say don't speak ill of the dead, but if I do have a funeral or any sort of gathering in her honor, I will be saying my piece because sometimes in order to move on and heal you need to speak ill of the dead. Edit 3. So? First, thanks for all the comments. It's very hard to keep up with everything, but I'm trying my best to read all of them. Second, how many of you want updates on this? Because I woke up to learn about people back in my hometown starting some shit and spreading rumors. Update. Hey everyone. I greatly appreciate the support on my original post. Some of y'all seemed invested, so I'm back with a hopefully short update. This is also a whole lot sooner than I thought I'd be. I'll be making a comment for y'all to upvote if you want more updates. So, in the original post I gave the Cliff Notes version of my mother's abuse and the whole situation with her. My partner's reaction when they read this was, wow, you really sugar-coated that. My mother was performatively supportive of me, so everyone thinks she was a wonderful person. A lot of the people messaging me have no idea that I have gone by a different name for nearly 7 years, because if I wasn't there she dead named and misgendered me to people. People mention therapy in the comments of the last post. I've been in and out of therapy for years, but I struggle to find a therapist who actually works for me. I'm very self-aware of my issues and what I'm struggling with. As a result, therapists tend to shrug off issues as I logically know how to deal with them. Anyway, now for the updates. I woke up a few days after posting my original post to a message from a family member. Apparently one of my no-contact family members, grandmother and 2 aunts on my dad's side, is telling people that I haven't done anything with my mother's body yet. Basically telling people that I just left her at a morgue to rot, which some of y'all probably think that's less than my mother would deserve. So despite the fact that there are people who know that I had my mother cremated, I've been getting shitty messages about that. Said family members also will not be allowed at the funeral if I end up having one. It's one of the few requests my mom actually made, and even if she hadn't I wouldn't want them there. Good news, should have death certificates by the end of this week. I'm going to be looking for a new attorney for filing probate. I called to ask for resources and help in getting the information they want and basically got told to just look through my mother's mail. I'm out of state and hundreds of miles away. Due to some stuff that happened while my mother was going through treatment, there isn't really anyone I trust to do that for me. So basically the probate attorney I was talking to told me they couldn't help me and to just figure it out. People have already started messaging me about buying things of my mom's and don't seem to understand that I can't legally sell anything until after probate has started. I've learned exactly what sort of condition that house is in from a family friend who is a contractor. It's about what I expected and likely would just need to be torn down. I did call and turn off utilities. A pipe had already burst in the house while my mom was in the hospital and there's no one there, so maybe the cold will actually kill the bugs finally? People are still being judgy about me not dropping everything and waiting to have a funeral. People are also trying to argue semantics over the costs of travel and stuff. Like my original notice to everyone on social media happened during holiday travel when last-minute plane tickets were over $1,000. People are now, 2 weeks later, looking up prices on my behalf and then being judgy because it is only like $500 now. They also don't seem to understand that I literally can't afford it as I live paycheck to paycheck. That's all I've got for the moment. I have a feeling shit is going to hit the fan either at the funeral or if I tell people I've decided not to have a funeral or anything. Sorry if this is a little all over. Between this situation and everything going on in this country, I'm just so tired. Edit, for anyone who missed it or is suggesting donating to science, I had my mother cremated. For those suggesting that I wash my hands of the whole situation, her house, property, and whatnot has the potential to be worth it monetarily even after paying her debts. The house and vehicles are all paid off. For anyone who thinks that is selfish or something, my mom literally stole money from me for years. I'm struggling financially, living paycheck to paycheck, and could use the money from the estate.